everyone, welcome back to Rolling Solo. My name is Adam Smith. Today we're going to be looking at a Kickstarter preview or Kickstarter prototype of HEXplore It, the Forests of Adrimon. Now I'm really excited about this one because I love HEXplore It, and currently right now I actually have this playthrough going on the channel. We haven't begun it, but I've already played the game off camera and I've really enjoyed it. And I wanted to show solo players what this game has to offer. So if you want to know more about the playthrough or how this game plays, this is a prototype of the second volume or expansion of the game, which is currently on Kickstarter right now and has recently also unlocked, if I'm not mistaken, the reprint or the reprinting of the original. And the original game, HEXplore It, the Valley of the Dead King, is the one that I'm doing on my channel, a solo setup, a rules overview, and then a playthrough. I've currently already released the solo setup and I'm halfway through filming the rules overview, and we'll hopefully be releasing that within the coming few days. We'll see how things pan out. I don't want to make any promises, but I want you to know I'm working on it. What I wanted to show you today with this is just to give you something while you wait, and that is a good overview or a quick look at the prototype of this particular expansion, which is on Kickstarter, because if you're trying to determine whether you know, the items that come in this particular expansion are going to be things you're interested in, then maybe seeing this prototype will actually help you. So let's go ahead and crack this thing open. Again, remember everything here is a prototype, so it's not going to look as good as it will when it's finally produced. So here we go, we cracked the box open, and of course, very similar to the Valley of the Dead King, we've got a number of different things here, but the first thing I'm going to pull off here is the rulebook. So here is the rulebook for this particular. And the funny thing about this one is it's actually really well produced as a prototype. The rulebook is really well done and looks very similar to the way the other one was set up, except this time now it looks like it's been bound a little better and it's more of a book. I think the other one was more rounded off on the corners, but this is a little bit more solid. It's actually pretty good for a, again, for a prototype. It's in fantastic shape. So again, this particular rulebook runs 68 pages. I'm not sure. I think that's actually maybe, if I'm not mistaken, that might be like 9 pages more than the original one. So again, some of this may cover things that are similar in the other one, but there's likely new stuff in there, and I'm going to be excited to jump into that in the future. Now, when I actually go ahead and do a playthrough, I just want to let you guys know that I won't be adding this into my playthrough. I'm going to be waiting until they produce this game. When it's produced from Kickstarter, because it's already met its goal, so we know it will be, then I'm going to be doing a playthrough of the expansion when it's released. So what you're going to see on Rolling Solo here is the Valley of the Dead King playthrough. Now here's another set of stuff that I really can't speak to too much because, again, I haven't read much of the prototype. I don't know what the new things are added into this expansion, so I'm really doing this to show you guys. And if you've been following along with the Kickstarter, some of this stuff might ring a bell. So we got some trait cards, which are likely brand new to this particular expansion, so that's exciting. They look like they're individual. So stealthy, analytical guide. So now your hero is going to have a trait, which is similar to what would have been, I'm assuming, the race cards in the original game. So another thing to basically diversify your character and make it more unique. We got ourselves what looks to be a whole bunch of colored dry erase markers. I can't say whether these will be in the final version or not. They may have just been included for the prototype. We, of course, got new tiles. So these tiles are definitely prototype. They're printed. They're very flat. The ones that come in the game when it is finalized will be much thicker. But this is going to add to, again, map variation when you're building out your map in the game. So that's the cool part. And you can see the colors have actually changed. They've gone ahead and started adding, it appears they've added different colors to the map. I think the prior map, if I'm remembering it right now, even just looking at it, it has a tone to it that's very earthy, and this is really a lot more vibrant. I'm noticing right off the top, the colors are popping a lot better, and I'm liking this. Some of the artwork's exactly the same, like the mountains, for instance, and things like that. But the tree areas here, being that it's the forests in this expansion, are much more lush. They really do pop, and they look really nice. And maybe that's meant to be done on purpose so it can mix in with the prior game. So that's pretty cool. Again, a bunch of those you get. This one right here, these are some new hex. So again, can't speak these too much, but you've got new types of tiles, of course. Not tiles, my mistake, tokens is what I meant to say. These tokens are going to be for new things from the expansion, so I can't say too much about it. This looks like a treasure or map type token. This one here could be a, just looking at this off camera, that's actually really hard to distinguish. without reading the rule book, but I'm not too sure. I'll give you guys a close-up of it. Maybe you can make it out yourselves. That's essentially what it looks like. So there's a bunch of them. I'm noticing quite a few, actually, that are definitely new. So let's see if I can... Yeah, so there's different characters, new tokens that way. Yep, definitely some ones I've never seen before. There's a few for the floor. Interesting. So I'm going to have to go through the manual to figure out what these new ones are. There's a few of them that I don't see a single one that's repeating, I don't think, from the original one. So those are all brand new for the expansion. Right here we've got a pile of... ooh, interesting. Now this says relic on the back. I don't know if these are all relics. No, they're not. Okay, races. So again, going back to the original game, if you have the original game, The Valley of the Dead King, you're going to have a ton of these already. I know they're going to be probably adding more races in, so these may be some of the races that are going to be added into this particular expansion, would be my assumption. So these, and some of these I think I'm recognizing from the previous one. So again, if you want to know exactly which races are being added in with this expansion, definitely double check on the Kickstarter page itself, as it likely makes, you'll get more accurate information that way, and I don't want to mislead you, but essentially there's a bunch of race cards in this prototype that was meant for playtesting and things like that. These are definitely a new feature in the game. Relics, never seen this in the first one, and this is art from this particular expansion for sure. So figurine of power. These are going to be items that you can essentially, and if I remember correctly, I think I remember that you can actually, you either are finding these or you're building them. Like it's one of the two, but these are really powerful relics that you can find in the land to really help you out on your journey. And that's a really cool aspect, to be going after some actual items. You feel really good about yourself and you end up, finding those. Underneath here, wow, it looks like, this is crazy. It looks like the HEXplore It expansion itself is going to have its own mats. So where the quests would go and the circumstances would go. Again, it may not be called that in this expansion, I'm not too sure. But I'll show you essentially some of the prototype versions of this. So there's that one there. Destinations, that's what they're called, destinations. Well, you learn by unboxing, right? So destinations, that's kind of the bottom, and then you've got other ones here. So there's where it's showing some of these new tokens that I'm not familiar with, but I'm likely going to become very familiar. So that's really cool that the expansion seems to take you to a different world, potentially, is what I'm gathering from this, rather than plugging you into the previous one. So it is truly a second volume. And you can see even the starting 4, even though these ones are printed they're printed very thin, but this is super high quality. So you can expect this essentially in terms of quality on the thicker cardboard when the Kickstarter goes. But of course you get A, B, C, and D tiles for this. Of course, this is where you start. So if you want to start with this arrangement, you can build the map out in a number of different ways. If you want to find out how that all works, check out my solo setup video. You can see an example of that. But as I mentioned earlier, notice how absolutely insanely bright and lush the colors are. They really pop. I think that was one of the major goals with this particular expansion, being as a forest-based one, that he wanted that stuff to really pop. So he did a good job on that. Over here we've got more. So these are going to be when you start exploring off to the east and west sides of the board. You're going to expand, and of course you're going to find new areas and new places. So in this case, here's something here. I have no idea what that stands for. Maybe some of you guys do. That's a boss location. That again is something new that I'm not familiar with. There's some other stuff there that I'm not so familiar with. So anyway, different ones, and it really does have a really cool feeling of exploration, and it's really interesting to hit the edge of the map and to move on to the next tile not knowing what it's going to be, because these tiles are kept down and shuffled and you don't know, and you draw one up. So it really changes your game-to-game experience as you go through it. This right here, did we already go through these? Yes, I just laid them right back down in the box again. So let's move these out of the way and see what else is inside this. And I'm guessing when we go through the cards, it might help us understand a little bit more about how these tie into the icons I was seeing on the map there. Of course, you've got some of these race cards. Now, I can't, or these aren't races, sorry, these are rules. These could be unique to this one. I would imagine they've got to be. So bear with me here. If you see any that came from the original one, then so be it. But we got the Stormcaller, so I'm going to flip that over. And so Maybe this is like placeholder artwork for it. That would make sense. Oh, so the Flowromancer. Interesting. Yes, so these are all new roles. They're going to be added in. The Soul Reaver. Very cool. Yeah, oh, that's so awesome. The artwork's so good. Historian. Again, if you want to see more about stuff, you can always pause the screen. There's the... That's pretty cool. Sorry about the reflection there. The light's kind of hitting it dead center. The Druid. There's the Druid's art. Again, it's all... just remember, the back of these are prototype. That is not what it's going to look like in the end. In the end, when this game is finalized, if you want to check out what the artwork will be close to looking like when it's done, check out my solo setup video. I go over the backs of the different type of roles in HEXplore It from Valley of the Dead King. They are mind-bogglingly nice. They're incredible. This one's called the Verdant Keeper. So it has, and again, all these have different masteries. A first mastery and a second mastery that are really unique to the character that make them pop. So, not spending too much time on the artwork on the back. Very cool. It's always good to have more choices in a game in terms of the roles. And the crazy thing about this game is the more of these there are, you times the number of these roles by the number of races. And then technically now, with the trade edition, which is new for this expansion, you know, the number of combinations for... or the chances you're going to land and create the same character if you're randomly building it are slim to none. Like, you're talking 700-ish plus different combinations. Like, that's outrageous. The battle map, this is exactly the same. I think this is the same. There might be a little bit of a difference here. I'm noticing Soul Shield, Influence. Of course, some of these are going to point to different things within the expansion that are different from the original one. So yes, there has been a little bit of a change here, and I think this area didn't have this right here before either. So there are some differences here, and this is made specifically for the expansion. Of course, these will be very, very different because these are reference sheets for the different type of icons. So that building that we were seeing the whole time along are wayposts. So these are going to be places, I guess, you can go and spend gold in order to acquire different types of items and things like that. So wayposts, you've got a battle site. So there's some pretty cool, as an icon for, I think we saw a couple of those as well. There's your relics, and it looks like those relics correlate to each of the different types of powers that you can upgrade, so that's kind of cool. We've got a grove, it looks like. So if you find this location here, which we saw earlier as well, then this is considered a grove, something you can go. Looks like you can barter, so you're bartering for those things. Dark relics, so you got gray dragon skulls, fangs, black sickle, harvesting nature's essence. There's a lot going on here. This is what's really cool about this volume 2 is I'm not seeing a lot of repeat stuff from the first volume. So this is truly a full-on, real true volume 2. This is a real big next step. So that's really exciting. That makes me even more excited for the production copy to show up when it eventually is done, because if they're going to build upon what's already working in the original one here and go out and change the entire thing again and build something totally different for the new world and a new feel using the same, I guess, base mechanics to build the game, that sounds fantastic. This is a battling sentinels, so I guess when you're handling sentinels in the game, this is going to be how you're going to play that situation out. You got your game turns. These are going to be this will probably be the most similar, except for the artwork, to the original. You got your movement, your skill. We're going over all this stuff actually in the rules overview that I'm doing, and I'll be releasing soon. Looks like the Magi is now here instead of the Dead King. The Dead King is no longer in this portion. It's the Magi, so that's likely the guy you're ending it with. Here we go. So here are your new enemies. So this guy here, the Troll King, like, look at that artwork. That's the kind of artwork you're going to end up seeing on the backs of these particular ones when they're finalized. Very, very nice stuff. Looks extremely nice. On the back of every one of these is 1 and 2, so you'll notice they increment up. So you're going from 1 to 2. The reason that is that on these particular tiles, if I go back here to the tiles, let me take one for example. If I took this one right here, this is where boss number 1 is. There's a 1 on it and there's a skull. That lets me know that if I want to go to that location, the King Troll is going to be there waiting for me because he's boss number 1. There's bosses that go all the way up to 10. So we'll go through them one by one here. without sticking around too long on each of them, but enough that you guys can get a general idea of the different type of ones. So the Death Moth, wow, that guy's crazy. Looks like some type of ent from Lord of the Rings, but a very mystical, magic-infused, rotting... Oh, wow. Yeah, kind of looks like a tree that's rotting. It's had better days. An owl, interesting. Very cool. I think I saw this on the artwork itself, but again, the artwork is awesome. I love it. Gives it so much theme and presence. That's so cool. So it's a bear. There we go. The Spider Queen. Yep, I remember seeing this actually in a Kickstarter video. This thing was one of the first monsters you run into, I think, in the video. The Wendigo. All these monsters. You really don't want to mess with them. You can see their health and energy is just off the charts, and of course it gets worse and worse as you go up. Now we're up to 8. The Dark. Oh wow, that's crazy. I just love this artwork. I'm sorry. I'm gushing about the artwork, but it really is that good. It's fantastic. They did such a good job, and it's a prototype. This is like, they're on the money with this stuff. And then, of course, there you go. So, the Forests of Adrimon, that's the name of the game. So, there you go, the Magi. And again, she is essentially replacing the dead king of the valley. So, that's where that was in the game turn that we just went through. So, this is your final confrontation with that particular monster. All right, so that's all of this. The only thing left that I haven't touched on just yet would be, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's just the cards. And I think that's really cool. I think it'd be worth our while to go through these as much as we can. So let's go open up one of these boxes and see. Again, I'm not going to spoil too much here because I don't want to spoil the game, but I want to give you guys a sense. These are definitely prototypes, so take this with a grain of salt. You can see quality is paper-like, but essentially you've got all kinds of things here, and they got the emblems of where you can find them likely. These are considered, well, I actually forgot off the top of my head, exclamation marks as well as question marks have now changed for this game. They used to be quests and circumstances, and now they're totally different. But here are all the different types of... So here now we're getting into some enemies. These are things that could potentially show up and try to mess with you. Typically they're going to be the exclamation marks, and these are going to be creatures, spirits, that type of thing that are just going to try to get in your way and make your life miserable. So these are things that you can potentially pull. They're nasty. There even might be some bosses mixed in on this as well, but I don't think so because I think the bosses use their actual reference sheets that we just talked about. Going through here, what else we got? Afflictions. So there's some new afflictions. These things are nasty. They can stick around for up to 4 turns. In the old game, at least. I don't know if that changes in this one, but they are bad. They basically are just going to hound your group, your party. Nature, you can heal them though, at particular locations and in particular situations. Nature is things that basically affect the nature of the world itself. Discoveries, I don't know if there's discoveries in the other one or not, but this seems new, so there's different things you can discover. I could be wrong on that. There might be discoveries in the other one, I'm just forgetting. There's definitely events, so there's a whole bunch of events here, without spoiling a whole bunch. So that's one deck of cards down. Second deck of cards has... Now again, just so you guys know this, what you're seeing here isn't the final of anything in terms of content. There's stuff unlocking on this Kickstarter right now, and it's still growing. So what you're seeing here isn't just all you're going to get. As the Kickstarter grows and more of you back this thing, if you're really interested in it and what you're seeing so far, or what you've already seen through videos and things like that, it's only going to make the game better and increase the content. So again, these are going to be pluses, so these are power-up cards. So these will be just basically boost to your stats, essentially. So there are a number of different types. There's nothing really too amazing there because they're simply going to be amazed. You'll be super happy when you get them, but they're not so exciting to show off right now. This one is another one. I think these are all, yeah, these are all just boosts. So basically they're going to bump up yourself or your party with different stats. So that's awesome. What I'm guessing is in here is there is a way to play the game as a 1 versus many, if I'm not mistaken. So there might be cards in here to play as on the evil side of things, but I could be wrong. That may not be included in this prototype, or maybe not be included at all. So yeah, these are actually, these are different. These are going to be for the new cards. So you've got a back like this one, and you've got a back like this one. So these are the 2 different types, and if you flip them over, Ah, see, I was right. You're building them. So you have to find the fragments. I guess you discover them, maybe? I'm not too sure. If someone happens to know in the comments, that'll make a lot more sense. But essentially, you got to find all the different fragments to put it together to get one of these relic cards. That's really cool. I like that. So it's not just a simple, hey, go here, defeat this boss, you get this. You actually have to build up to that relic. So then when you get it, you feel even better about it. That's really cool. Over here, we've got a bunch of quests. It would be my assumption that these are, yeah. So I forget the word that it said on the board earlier. I already read it out loud. It's already slipped my mind. But essentially, these are going to be pointing you to what hex you're going to, what encounter you'll do, and your rewards when you turn it in. Typically, that happens in a city, unless the rules in this game change it. But there's a number of different things. There's bounties you can do. There's events that you can do. There's, well, there might be some new ones in here that I've never seen before. Sometimes you have ones where you actually have to, well, survival's a different one. One's an escort, where you have to take somebody and escort them from one side of the map to the other safely. So there's a whole bunch of different things. They tell you the thing I do like about the cards is they're really well laid out, easy to understand. You quickly know, I need to roll that die, this is the hex it belongs on, it's on that tile, this is what I get if I do it, and this is the stat. And bam, you've got the whole card figured out. And you could probably figure that out most times without even reading the rules. I found it really intuitive. So that's pretty much going to wrap it up. That was the whole prototype. Whew, I'm kind of winded after that. That was the whole prototype for the expansion that's currently on Kickstarter, except for the fact that all the Kickstarter stretch goals are probably being added into this game. Plus, this is just a prototype and maybe missing some pieces of that expansion. So if you like what you see, definitely check that Kickstarter out, because you do not want to miss out on it. It's currently funded and is still thriving and is still breaking stretch goals left, right, and center, and things are being added into the game. But the one thing I also want to let you guys know is on the channel here, if you haven't heard about it already, Rolling Solo myself, I'm giving away 4 copies. I'm not kidding you, 4 copies of the HEXplore It Kickstarter Deluxe version of the Valley of the Dead King, which is the first volume. So if you're interested in potentially winning one, you just have to follow the link in the description below. It'll take you right to the actual giveaway, and the only requirement is that you're a subscriber. If you do that, you're in on the draw and you have a chance to win. And there's other ways that you can enter as well to increase your odds if you so choose, but none of them are required. And that's about it. And just before this Kickstarter for this expansion ends, I'm going to announce those 4 winners so that everyone knows what they need to up their pledges for and things like that. So everyone's kind of in the know about who won and who didn't, and then that way you can adjust your pledge as you need to. So hopefully that works for everybody. Anyway, that's going to wrap up this Kickstarter preview. I know it's not a playthrough. I do apologize for that. This is something that I want to play with a production copy. So I'll be playing it with this off camera for sure. But I'm going to be focusing my filming on the Valley of the Dead King. So if you want to see anything in regards to this game, I'm currently working on it and you won't be missing anything. So just jump on into the channel and we'll continue our journey through the original first volume. So thanks again for all your support. You guys are amazing. And as always, keep on rolling solo.